Hey, Stephen Peterson here, and we're talking about a pattern, a habit, a process, a routine. And you just change one in your life, and it can change your whole life. And I'm going to tell you, I read everything I can in books, downloads, internet, emails, anything that shows, oh, these 4 steps or these 4 patterns or this pattern. In fact, the one that's really fascinated me this week is this guy who spent 31 days getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning because he had been studying the life of multimillionaires and billionaires, and they had one thing in common. They all got up early. And I was going to tell you all about that. But something has happened to me the last 3 days that I want to tell you it's changed my life. And of course, transformation isn't an event, it's a step-by-step process. And really, if you're going to see any positive change, you probably won't see much change in the first few days or even weeks of implementing a new pattern. But just the discipline alone, all of a sudden will make you aware, oh man, I've wasted time here, I've wasted money over there, wasted energy. So it's good. And I've got an email for you. Tell me where you're struggling in a pattern. Man, I've been working hard to break this, or I found this one pattern that changed my life. But before we tell about the getting up early, because I'm not ready to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I don't want to tell you something that works when I haven't tried it. Now, every one I've told you I haven't tried, but I've told you these ones I've tried and these I haven't, they interest me. That's another reason I'd like to hear from you. One of these days, we might even be able to get some kind of quick, you give me a 30-second recording on your phone and send it to me by email where something has really helped you. I'd like to add those. Because again, I'm not talking about my strength. I'm talking about my weakness. But I want to show you something. Tell me what you see. Now, for the literalists, they might see a pecan. It's the closest I could get to an acorn. But I want you to tell me when you look at this, just for my sake, say, okay, Steve's holding an acorn. Tell me what do you see? You have two choices. You can see the acorn, or you can see the oak tree that's inside of here, waiting for someone to unlock it. And that's what a change in pattern will do. It will take something, a gift, a talent, a strength, an ability that you have in there that's been locked up, and by changing it, it releases it. By becoming more disciplined. Every one of us live by patterns, routines, practices, things our parents did or grandparents or somebody we really admired. That's how we live. That's why this has really captivated me. I'm a right now kind of person. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, if you said, hey, I got a pattern and it's going to change your life right now, I'd be in front of the TV, I'd be writing you, I'd be paying for it. But most things in life that are transformational take time. Time isn't going to do it. Time gives you wrinkles. But if you're really going to transform, if you're really going to change, if there's going to be an honest to goodness difference for the better, it's a process. It's a step-by-step process. It isn't something that happens overnight. It's like the oak tree that I can hear rattling inside of here. Just down the street from where I live, I'm guessing this oak tree is 50, 60 feet tall. I don't know. Maybe it's 20 and I'm not good at estimating. But it came out of an acorn like this. I'm going to find me some acorns. And I'm telling you, the thing that's going to change your life, if you start seeing the oak tree instead of just the acorn, inside of you, there's some kind of oak tree. I'm just guessing, and I believe I'm correct. And everybody's watching. There's something inside of you that you've neglected. Something inside of you didn't try, or you tried and somebody said, you'll never be that. You can never be that. Well, there's certain things I could never be. I could probably never be a very good doctor, not because I'm lacking IQ, but I hate the sight of blood. Mine or anybody else's. I just don't like it. And I don't have an interest. God bless all the doctors. I just don't have that kind of interest. Talk about a long transformational process going from a medical student to a doctor. But that's it. You've got to, the people who succeed in life look at something at the very start and they don't see the acorn. is they see the oak tree, its potential, its possibilities, life-changing. I told you about my dad. I don't know how many of you watch this from week to week, but my dad worked his whole life for the railroad. Had a couple of other odd jobs here, and part of it he loved, and part of it he didn't love. Sorry, I've got something in my eye, and I'm shooting this live, and I'm going to just put up with it. And he was a diesel mechanic, and he'd come home from work, and he would just be filthy. He'd just be covered in, I don't know, I'd call it soot or grease. First thing he'd do is take a bath. Inside of him was an accountant. And I think I was a sophomore in high school when he started coming home from work. And we're talking about my dad, coming home from work, taking a bath, and immediately going to a night school class on accounting. And he did this for months. And one day he didn't go, and I said, Dad, and he goes, I'm not an accountant. I'm just a diesel mechanic. He couldn't see to get through tough times, to get through the hard times, because most transformational processes are going to have some bumps and some roadblocks. And in fact, I'm just thinking of it's a friend of my daughter, but she's the daughter of a good friend of mine. And she unloaded airplanes for years, Salt Lake International Airport. You know what she was inside? She was a pilot. One day, somebody high up in her company said, man, I think you're a pilot. And this is not putting that, listen, that's hard work, throwing that luggage, putting it on, taking it off. It's just hard work. Doing it in the heat, doing it in the cold. She was tough. People who do that, that's, in all labor there's profit. Man, that's just hard work. But this guy said something that this young lady had believed and wished and probably prayed about and dreamt about. But she was as far away, she was at the airport, but she was as far away from a pilot as she could be. But because of what he said, this gentleman said to her, she started seeing not the acorn, she saw the oak tree. She saw the possibility of becoming a pilot. She's a pilot today. Talk about tough times. Man, she went through some back-breaking and heartbreaking experiences, but if you ask her now, it was all worth it. See, if you don't see the oak tree in you, if you don't see the possibility, the pilot in you, if he'd said that to her and said, man, I think you can be a pilot, she'd go, yeah. Well, I don't think she was several weeks into it before an impossibility came up. Well, if she didn't see the pilot in her, if she didn't see the oak tree in her, she'd have just quit there. In fact, I believe there was a statistic. She told her dad, and her dad told me that 50% of the people in the program quit at that point. 50% of the people who want to become a pilot quit, and it's only a few weeks in. Now, I'm not putting it down anybody who's ever quit. No, I'm just saying, one of the reasons, now maybe you shouldn't have been a pilot, just like I shouldn't have been a doctor. But if you don't see the oak tree instead of the acorn in you, you'll never change a pattern, change a process, change a principle, change a habit, change a routine. Why should I do that? This fellow writing the article about the multimillionaires, and he's talking about 100 million. He's looking at some of the most wealthy people in the United States. Now, I don't know if they all had this trait. I don't know if they all, but he said they did. They all got up early, at least 5 o'clock in the morning. And he said there's one reason why. These wealthy people have hundreds, if not thousands of people trying to contact them every day. Oh, have you thought about this? Have you considered that? Would you look at this? But none of them contacted them at 5 o'clock in the morning. They're all asleep. So these super wealthy, super successful people on that level, you can be super successful and have $100 to your name. If what you want in life, whether it's peace or sitting on the beach and nobody bothering you, you decide what's success. But he said they all did that. They all saw to get the oak tree out of the acorn, they needed to get up before anybody else and get things done when no one was bothering them, get things done they didn't want to get done. As I'm telling you, what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of all the things that I wrote down that I would do before I recorded this. But I got busy. and I didn't do any of them. I thought about it, I started it, but didn't finish one of them. It's a tremendous pattern. Did I tell you I'm not ready to try it just yet? Because to try it, he said you've got to do it at least 30 days. And he said he was so tired the first 2 or 3 days, but after that he was sharper, he was smarter. He said I go to bed earlier now. He used to, but his words, his definition, he wasted tens of hours a week hanging around his family, hanging around his friends late at night when he was too tired to do anything. But I don't want to spoil the party. But now getting up at 5 in the morning, you can't stay out till midnight, 1, 2 in the morning and get up at 5. Can't do it for very long. So he said, I eliminated that. And to him, it was a time waster. Now he sees his friends and they see each other at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, and they have a good time. His family now has joined him. I don't know if they get up at 5, but they go to bed earlier by changing one thing. But he said, I wanted to get the oak tree out of my acorn, and I couldn't do it getting up when everybody else did. What's it going to take to get that oak tree out of the acorn? See, if I just take this little acorn and I put it in my pocket, it's never going to be anything. It's just going to be a little memento, a little good luck charm, a little reminder. But if I plant it, if I water it, if I nourish it, this thing is going to turn into a mighty oak tree. Think about it. You take one seed out of one apple and plant it. You don't get one apple. You get a tree that produces hundreds of apples with thousands of seeds every year by seeing the potential that's in you. As long as it's just this, as long as it's potential, it's just an acorn. It's no big deal. But look what's inside of it. You know you can't see it. If we cut it open with a knife or a saw or something, it wouldn't look like anything. But inside there is the DNA for a mighty oak tree. A mighty, mighty oak tree. Inside of you, and we're not going to cut you open, we're not going to saw you open, but there's the DNA in there, I believe, for greatness, not in every area, but in certain areas. Education, politics, maybe religion, school, military. There's something in there. Business. There's businesses inside of so many of you. But right now, they're just acorns because there's a process. You start with one process. Get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Get rid of friends who put you down. Get rid of horrible things that you say about yourself. And all of a sudden, but you know what motivates you? You know what keeps you going? When you have a picture of what can be. Doesn't look very impressive, does it? It just doesn't. But inside is an impressive tree. Inside you is something that's so impressive. And that's what this whole program is trying to do. Patterns for Progress is to get you to see, wait a minute, there's more in me than what I've ever seen before. There's more in me than what anybody else has seen. Thank God for that fellow who's high up in the airline company who said to my friend's daughter, I see a pilot in you. But if nobody ever says that, you can say it. You need to see it before anybody else does. You need to say it before anybody else does. I want the oak tree that's in you and the oak tree that's in me to come out and not just be a little cute acorn my whole life. I just don't want that. And I don't want it for you. Love to hear from you. I've run out of time. I've talked so much. patternsforprogress@gmail.com. I'm Stephen Peterson. Let me know where you're succeeding. Let me know where you're struggling. Let me know where it's helped. But let me hear from you. patternsforprogress@gmail.com. patternsforprogress@gmail.com. And yes, working on that YouTube channel, and we'll tell you more about it next week. I'll see you next week, okay? Thank you.